Okay, week 6, part 2. Sorry, these videos take up like gigabytes of space. So when I forgot to delete them when I uploaded them to YouTube from my computer, and it's like, yeah, now you have no space. So deleted a bunch of old ones. Now I have space. What I was trying to say is that the off-screen character is saying a barrister maid wears a smile, but we don't see J-Lo's character wearing a smile here. She is not happy. And then it says she's just a maid. All of that together is telling us, one, it's subverting. So we hear what a barrister maid is. We see J-Lo, who is a barrister maid, and that tells us, okay, but she's not acting like a barrister maid. Someone says she's just a maid, and through the reaction, we see that this is a part of a conflict for her, that she's not just a maid.
Oh, excuse me. And above all, a barrister maid strives to be invisible.
I had no idea anyone was here.
Notice that when there is a funny moment in a trailer, or something really important, the sound will stop, it'll drop out, and that is enhancing whatever you're seeing. It's making you pay closer attention to what is said. So like here. And notice in the next scene when people are laughing, it doesn't go with this scene. It's a different scene.
Anyone was here.
Don't worry, Mr. Monty. It's no big deal.
Anyone was here.
Don't worry, Mr.
I want
Monty.
you to hear how the music drops out.
Strives to be invisible.
I had no idea anyone was here.
Enhances the
Don't worry,
joke.
Mr. Monty. It's no big deal.
Then a bunch of people laughing, which is not even from that scene.
Not too tried on.
His name's Rufus. I'm Chris.
I know who you are.
Yeah? What do you know?
You're running for senator.
Who's that kid? Can we guess? Also, it's funny how that dog froze.
I love this kid.
Fate can open the door.
Okay, close up on the kid. We know he's important. Fate can open the door. Okay, his name is not Fate, but he did open the door. So we know that he's likely the person who is going to bring the two main characters together. He's J-Lo's son, obviously. Not J-Lo, the actress, but I can't remember the character's name. Now, this is the scene that they were talking about, that Carmen Meyer was talking about, where there's a bunch of close-ups when the characters meet, which is telling the viewer that this is a very important moment.
Talking about
Hello.
Hi. This is Chris. He's got a giant gray dog. I'm gonna go walk.
So those close-ups are telling you how they're feeling. How are they feeling? Surprised. Obviously, they're attracted to each other. Something else I want you to hear is when they first look at each other, there's a sound that goes, "Bing." Okay, that's not music, and it's not diegetic because the characters aren't hearing it. That is an intensifier for the audience to understand the emotional context of this scene.
talking about
Hello.
Did you hear that?
Hi.
You didn't?
This is Chris. He's got
Go listen to it.
a giant gray dog. I'm gonna go walk with him, okay?
Come with us.
Okay. So that's all I'm going to show you for that, except for this really ridiculous slow-mo turn. Here's where we're talking about transitions and camera movement, enhancing and intensifying whatever emotion you're supposed to be understanding. So when she slowly turns around, we get Kelly Clarkson's like, da-da-da-da-da-da. Like that's all working together to tell us, ooh, she's transformed into this stunning, beautiful princess chick.
What am I doing to this? This is a lie.
It's more like a dream.
Look at all these things.
Maid is a lie. This is who you really are.
And then there's that white transition that's intensifying. Boom, here's the transformation. Slow-mo.
I only came to tell you that this can't go anywhere beyond this evening.
Hey, you should have worn a different dress.
All right. Let me see. Was there any captions? No. Okay. That's all I'm going to say with that trailer. Feel free to watch it, see what else you can come up with. Now let's look at the Freaky Friday trailer because it has a lot of non-diegetic information here.
Honey, wake up.
Sorry, the quality's so bad.
I'm ready.
We're a Coleman family.
Make good choices.
Mondays are manic.
Okay, so those are interesting. It's showing us the calendar. That's non-diegetic. And it's not part of the film. It's part of the film trailer.
I can't believe it. It's Jake. He's not.
So it says like Monday, what did it say? Mondays are crazy, something like that. And then The narrator says that, and then we get examples of it. So that's intensifying that meaning, showing us, oh, it really is crazy for them. How? It shows us.
He's totally okay.
You hear that? That's intensifying how she feels when her crush looks at her and then is like, looks away. That's intensifying how she feels. How does she feel? Embarrassed, disappointed.
Days are wild.
Wednesdays are wild because some wild stuff happens.
There's never enough time to really understand each other.
It says there's never enough time to really understand each other. Here's an example of how they don't understand each other, and that's enhancing that meaning for us.
But on a Friday,
You think my life is perfect? You couldn't last one day in my high school.
that's all about to change.
Watch that lightning and the weird transitions. It's intensifying what's happening.
Because
Creating
things
meaning.
are going to get a little freaky.
Okay. Now, I want you to pay attention to the shots here, the movement. So when you have a dolly shot, or is that what it's called? A Dutch angle shot, where she's like sitting up, it's telling you things are off balance. This is the way the camera shots are working here, the transitions are showing you from the character's perspective how they are feeling, and the transitions are helping you to understand.
About to change.
Where the camera moves.
Because things are going to get a little freaky.
Right here. In Anna's room. This is mine? That's not mine. That's definitely not mine. So, you're in my body and I'm in your body. Oh!
So you'll see that the way that motion happened when she woke up in Anna's body gave you, it enhanced how she was feeling, how we evaluate and understand what she is feeling. Is there anything else I wanted to look at in this one? Just, this is called here. These are important because, one, look, it's the name of the film, it's bright, it's catchy. This is not from the film itself. This is from the film trailer to promote the film. So some things with ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos would be when you're seeing like the actress's name or an Academy Award winner. Those are texts that are trying to say, oh, okay, I really like Jennifer Lawrence. So if she's in this film, I see her name there, I see a picture of her face, that's ethos. I liked her last movie, I'm going to want to go see this one. Some other examples of pathos. So pathos is emotion. That's typically what you're going to see the most of in a film trailer. And the next article we talked about, Jensen's article, talks a lot about emotion and how the narrative of a film, which is very complex, is simplified to enhance a single emotion so the audience knows, what am I going to feel when I see this film? And then logos, honestly, logos is just like how you piece everything together. How are they organizing it? You probably won't talk about it very much. It's most effective if you're thinking about ethos and logos when you're writing about how is the film trailer appealing to the target audience. Okay, so that is Meyer. If you want to pause and take a break, go ahead. Otherwise, we're going to jump into talking about Jensen. So the biggest takeaway here is that trailers use a variety of techniques, oral, visual, audio, together to create meaning. And sometimes that meaning, they'll contradict each other and it's telling you something different. All right, Charlotte Jensen. So here, the biggest takeaway from this article is that trailers emphasize one emotion, but reduce the complexity of the narrative in order to appeal to the audience. So let's take a look at the article quickly. This one is hard, okay? It's really difficult. It was difficult for me the first time I read it. I'm not going to talk too much about theory and genre, but what I do want to talk about, let's go through here. Okay, so the role of emotions. Essentially, what the argument here, notice this is a rhetorical choice to bold this here. The The argument here is that the viewer's desire not only regards the narrative, because the trailer also seeks to arouse a desire in the viewer to get more of the emotive register of the film. So when I'm seeing a film trailer, I'm not only interested, my desire is not only, I want to know what happens. Because normally, you kind of know what happens. Like, when you watch a romantic comedy, you know the characters are going to get together. I can tell you this as a romance author, that it is a rule in the romance genre that you have to have a happily ever after or a happy for now. The characters must end up together and happy at the end of the book. Or it's not considered a romance. It would be considered women's fiction. So as the audience, as a reader, when I pick up a romance novel, one, I'm looking for more than just the story. I want to feel like, you know, when you have a comfort movie, okay? So maybe you really love The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks, which I have never seen this film. Every time I go to watch it, the DVD breaks. It's like a curse. But I want to feel that emotion of people falling in love. That's why people watch romantic comedies or romance novels, romance films in general, is they want to have that feeling. It's, of course, they want to know what happens in the story. How do they get together? But it's really about that feeling. And that's what you're going to see in film trailers. So when you're looking at a comedy film trailer, most of the scenes are going to be what? Jokes from the film. Have you ever seen a comedy film trailer, or film trailer for a comedy, gone and seen the comedy and we're like, all the funny parts were in the trailer? Yeah, because they're trying to get you to come see the film. They want you to think, oh, I'm laughing, this is funny, I want to feel more of this, so I'm going to go see that film. Similar idea with scary movies. Why do people want to watch scary movies? Because they want to feel scared. It's about the emotion. So the desire is not necessarily, when I see like, what's a horror film? Not Human Centipede. That's the only one I can think of. Like Saw 2, I guess. I don't know. Or The Exorcist. Let's go with The Exorcist. So if I'm watching the trailer for The Exorcist, I'm like, oh, it's creepy. I don't actually care about that much about the story. Yeah, I care a little bit. But I mostly want to feel scared. And if the trailer is scary, I can assume the film is going to be scary. But films are more complex than one emotion. When you're watching a comedy movie, there's still going to be sad parts or reflective parts, but in the trailer, all the energy is going to be on heightening that emotional reaction. They will choose typically one emotion, and that's what all they're going to throw into. So, like with Juno, which I think is the one I have pulled up here, Charlotte Jensen talks about Juno. She talks about how they focus on this typical narrative of teen gets pregnant, has to learn how to grow up. Now, the film itself is more complex than that. It's not just a comedy. It's not just about, oh, Juno needs to learn how to grow up. That's not really what we see. There's a lot in the trailer, in the film itself. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it for you. If you don't want spoilers, I guess go watch the movie now. The film is much more complex than that because we have the parents who want to adopt the baby, and the dad turns out to be like a creep, and there's all kinds of complexities there, but they don't put that in the trailer because they need to keep it simple, because their goal is to get you interested in the film, usually through emotion, sometimes through narrative. So they have to dumb down, basically, makes the story more simpler, and only focus on one emotion to grab you and make you want to see the film. So let's take a look at some of that.
Yo, yiggity yo. I'm pregnant. What? Honest to blog?
So we have Honest to Blog, like it's a very teenage interaction. This is an example of ethos. Fox, Searchlight Pictures, oh, they're a big company. They have good films. This is maybe going to be a good film.
I've taken like 3 pregnancy tests and I am 4 shears up the spout. How did you even generate enough pee for 3 pregnancy tests? I'm telling you I'm pregnant and you're acting shockingly cavalier. Is this for real?
Yes.
Juno's life just got complicated. Non-diegetic, it's helping us to piece together the narrative. If we only got one element, just the visual, no sound, no text, we might be confused. So all these elements work together to help us organize and understand what we're seeing.
That ain't no etch a sketch. This is one diddle that can't be undid, Holmes Gillett.
I think it's best to just tell him. I'm pregnant.
Who is the father?
Holly.
Okay, this is a very serious situation for this character, but they're making it funny. They're focusing on the teen comedic elements of the film. We didn't hear, they didn't say, hi, this is Beaker. You hear the diegetic narration of Juno talking about, saying his name while we see him on the screen. So that tells us, oh, that's him.
I know, right?
Why your shorts are like especially gold today?
My mom uses color safe bleach.
Go Carol.
You should look.
She has a big decision to make. This is treating this film like this is the only conflict, which it's not. And it's it's giving it a light feeling. It's supposed to be funny and cute.
At adoption ads, they have ads for parents.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. You must be Juno.
Hi, I'm the husband.
Baby star poignant.
Dude, that thing is freaky looking.
I'm a sacred vessel. All you've got in your stomach is Taco Bell. You think you're really gonna do this? Yeah, but I'm guessing it looks probably like a sea monkey right now. We should let it get a little cuter, right? Great.
Keep it in the oven.
When this is all over, we should get back together.
You're still gonna think I'm cute when I'm huge.
You're beautiful. Did you by any chance barf in my arm?
I would never barf in your arm.
Did you see her coming when she sat us down here?
Yeah, but I was hoping she was expelled or into her drugs.
So we're seeing like elements, it's a montage. Now what I want to also talk about is, where does it talk about the montage? Montage? Reaction. Maybe that's in Carmen. But really quickly, what I want you to know is that, so there's a lot of pacing in trailers, and they kind of follow the same format. There's the first part. Actually, I do think it's in this article. Where are we? It's important that you note this because you might want to talk about it in your paper. So like there is kind of a structure to film trailers, and that structure is here. Okay, so typically there is an opening situation. Typically it's one of the longer parts. It introduces us to the main character and the situation. So then exposition is going to be the second element of a film trailer structure, where it's developing more of the conflict. We're getting to understand, okay, what's the story going to be about? Then there's going to be rising action. There's going to be something that's a more heightened emotion. Then the climax, where some big thing happens, and then there's falling action, which is they have to make a decision. So we find out, okay, what's the stakes? What is at stake? What do these characters have to decide? But what I want to talk about are the reaction shots. Okay. So, so typically trailers will start slow and they'll gradually increase in tempo and pace between the scenes. We see this in the Juno trailer. We see it in most trailers. It's very common. So the reason for the beginning being slower is it gives the viewer more time to connect or identify with a character. Because if we don't connect with the character, we're not going to care about what happens to them. So here we see, like in Juno, we see a character dealing with pregnancy. So then we're dealing with her. We understand what her problem is. We've gotten to know her, Juno. We like her a little bit, hopefully. So now that we have insight into the conflict, into Juno's goals, we see a few scenes of that. And as things get more intense, so the tempo and the level of intensity are incremented significantly at the outbreak of a new conflict. So when there's a new conflict, the tempo is going to go up, and we're mostly going to see isolated shots where you are getting a visual montage of emotion. A lot of the time, hold on, I gotta pause. Often, these are reaction shots, and you'll notice reaction shots in here, let's see. In Juno, you're going to see a lot of reaction shots once things start to speed up. Here's where they start to speed up. Right here, they're going to speed up. Let's see.
Did you find a chance barf in my arm?
So you're going to see a bunch of reaction shots here. This is funny. We're going to get to emotions. Here. Okay. See? Right here. It's the conflict. What do they say? What do they say the conflict is? So the bumps along the way, talking about conflict. Now we're going to see a bunch of shots. We don't understand what the context is, how they fit together in the narrative, but what we do understand is the emotion. The music is getting intense. The scenes are getting intense. You'll see the characters' faces. These are isolated reaction shots. So the characters reacting to something. See that here? Reaction.
You love him.
We don't know how these all go, but it's heightening the pace, helping us feel whatever emotion we're supposed to feel. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the next thing you need to pay attention to is your thesis for Project 2. That's what you're going to be really working on this week. So your thesis should convey a message about the film. So for the social network one that we talked about last week, that popularity isn't all it seems to be, or just because you have a lot of friends on social media doesn't mean that you can still be lonely. Something like that. So a message that speaks to the human condition in general. Your thesis should also state which rhetorical moves, so lighting, camera movement, specific character dialogue, my kids are talking, it's okay, are used to convey that message. And it should also state who the target audience of the trailer is. So who's the audience, what techniques are used to reach them, whether that's pathos, ethos, or logos. So let me find an example of a thesis for you. Where are we? Boop, boop. Well, first let me talk about what we've got going on this week. Then I will find you a thesis statement, an example. So readings for this week, you need to do the film terms cheat sheet. You should already have read these. You watch the slides. Wednesday, you have a pre-writing assignment due for Project 2, and you also need to share your thesis in your workshop group document and comment on each person's thesis. Make sure that they have all the elements they need. Friday, you just have your reading response forum. So let's look at the pre-writing. I want you to see it. I think it's really helpful. This means you have to choose your trailer, by the way. Let's see, pre-writing assignment right here. Sorry. Where is it? Okay, so here it is. And it looks like this. You can write it out as a Word doc and submit it, or copy and paste, whatever works for you. I think it makes the most sense to do it. Why is this taking so long? Wish this would open. Okay, it's taking 1,000 years, but basically it's a bunch of questions that will help you brainstorm ideas for your trailer. Here they are. So talk about what's your thesis, give you some tips, rhetorical appeals, audience text. Going through this, being as detailed as possible, is really going to help you when you're writing your paper or coming up with your thesis. So let me...
Mommy!
This is Carolina. How old are you, Carolina?